Anyone want to guess how much sleep I got last night? Let me know in the comments below. If you guess correctly, I'll write your name on a potato and launch it out into space. Probably. Hi everyone, my name is Stormi the Folf, and today I want to talk about even more furry convention advice. So you've heard me talk about going to furry conventions probably a million times at this point. And gosh darn it, I'm going to talk about it again because as I constantly learn more about making the best of my convention trips, I want to share my knowledge with y'all so you can make the best of your con trips as well. I'm talking about things like saving time, unnecessary stress, money, and your sanity, if you have any left that is. Because I know I don't. Now, I'm only going to focus solely on the convention itself. I'm not going to talk about things like whether you should travel by car or plane or boat or teleportation or how to pack things and so on. I'd have to dedicate an entire video on how to pack things for a furry convention. Anyway, let's begin. Registration. If you're watching this, chances are you have access to the internet, which also means you can pre-register for a convention. If you know for sure that you want to go to, say, like Potato Con or MFF or whatever, go to the con's website and pre-register. Many conventions will offer a pretty heavy discount depending on how early you register. Anthrocon, MFF, and I think FWA participate in offering early bird specials. Now, of course, there are other membership levels like God Tier or Sponsor, which cost more than a regular badge, but also tend to have some nice perks attached, but that's for another video. Anyway, if you know for sure you're going to MFF, pre-register as soon as possible before the prices go up. Of course, if you can't pre-reg now, you can do it later, but depending on how long you wait, the prices might go up, and of course, if you register at the convention itself, you'll be paying full price, not to mention have to fill out your name, your address, email, and all sorts of other credentials out on a paper form. At least that's how it's been for most conventions I've gone to. Choosing a hotel. Now ideally, you'd want to choose the convention's main hotel. For example, Anthrocon's main hotel is the Westin, but not only does it cost more than most of the nearby overflow hotels, it's also way harder to get a room there due to the high demand, and as the convention grows, it's only going to get more difficult. However, if you're not able to get a room in the main hotel, don't panic because there are other options. This is where overflow hotels come in. Overflow hotels are usually fairly close by, anywhere from a 10-minute walk to a short 20 to 30-minute drive, and there are buses you can take for free to and from the convention center. They also tend to be a little bit cheaper than the main con hotel itself. Now, if you're a full suitor, the Westin is probably your best bet. Reason being is during the summer in Pittsburgh, it can get a little warm, and walking to the convention itself in fursuit from a hotel outside in the heat can be a little bit miserable. But sometimes overflow hotels themselves are interconnected with indoor walkways such as MFF. You could walk from the overflow hotel all the way to the convention center without ever setting a foot outside. Choose what you think is right for your needs and finances. When to arrive. Some people like to arrive the first day of a convention. Others prefer to arrive a day early, sometimes even 2 or 3 days early. For bigger conventions, arriving early is usually a good idea if you can afford it. By doing so, you can usually avoid heavier traffic, have a day to relax because flying and or driving for hours at a time can get rather exhausting for some people like myself. If you can't afford to arrive a day early, arrive as soon as you possibly can to avoid traffic. And if you're staying at a hotel, remember, if you arrive before your scheduled check-in time, typically sometime in the afternoon, like 3 or 4 p.m.-ish, you might be waiting for your room to be cleaned and available since that's usually how hotels work. Like say you arrive at 10 a.m. but check-in time for the hotel is 4 p.m. You would be waiting like 6 hours or so to get your room. So don't arrive too early if you know what I mean. Line con. Picking up your badge. As I mentioned before, arriving early is a great way to avoid traffic, and the same can often apply to picking up your badge. Now, even if you do arrive early, there's still going to be a little bit of a wait. You can expect to wait anywhere from 30 minutes to possibly a few hours if you pre-registered for something like a basic tier membership. Upgraded memberships such as God tier or super sponsor levels often have a separate line, which tends to be shorter. Anyway, arrive to the lines early, be patient, And please remember that because most conventions are not-for-profit, volunteer-supported events, it's always possible that a con might be slightly short-staffed, which can make registration unfortunately take a little bit longer, thus extending the registration line. Be prepared for a wait in any case. It's the unfortunate byproduct of attending a convention, especially a busy one. Wear something comfortable, try to wear shoes that you know won't wear you out after standing for extended periods, keep a bottle or two of water on you so that you don't dehydrate, and if you do get exhausted, don't be afraid to sit down on the floor and relax for a little bit. And now for something really important. I know a lot of people out there like to maximize their fursuiting time, and there's nothing wrong with that, but waiting in the registration line is not the best place to fursuit. You're in a very tightly grouped area with hundreds of people around you. The room tends to get rather toasty, and there usually isn't water readily available. There's also no easy way to store your fursuit if you take it off while you're waiting in line. So you could end up carrying your fursuit head for hours and hours, and yeah. Setting up a schedule. Most conventions have several panels and events to choose from, especially larger conventions like Midwest Furfest or Anthrocon or BLFC. Shortly before the convention begins, the convention will, or at least should, release a full schedule of all events and panels that you can access online on their website or through a mobile application. FWA is good about doing this. You can get a complete overview of the convention schedule and can set reminders for any event that you may wish to attend. Like say you wanted to attend a furry YouTuber panel or the guest of honor panel. You can set reminders to let the app know that the panel is about to begin in 30 minutes to an hour, and so on.
Oh God. I can't breathe!
Of course, if there is no app for the convention, you can still create Google reminders on your Android or create a reminder on your iPhone. When to arrive to events. Plan on arriving early for events that you anticipate will be extremely popular. Why? Because as the convention progresses, especially into Friday and Saturday night, the elevators will become congested with heavy traffic as con-goers are rushing to things like dance competitions, the rave, and other high-demand events. If there's a dance comp that starts at say like 9 p.m. on a Saturday, and you arrive there just at 9 p.m., you're not going to get a good spot, if you can even get a spot. You might be standing for an event simply because all the chairs are already filled. Plan on arriving at least an hour early for major events like this, unless you want to stand all the way in the back, and if it's crowded enough, they may not let you in at all due to fire code restrictions on how many people you can have in one room. I know it kind of sucks, but that's just the way it works, especially for bigger cons. Basically, if you're staying at a main convention hotel, get to the elevators as early as possible for big weekend events. Add a 30-minute to 1 hour buffer time for waiting on elevators, then get to the line 30 minutes to an hour early so you can get a spot for said event. This is something I would suggest for a fairly large-sized con like Furry Week in Atlanta, for example. Fursuiting tips. I know I've talked about fursuiting tips in past videos, but they are extra important in a convention setting. I won't make a long rant about it or whatever, but make sure that if you're suiting, especially full suiting, do not overwork yourself. Make sure to stay plenty hydrated with water, maybe Gatorade, fans. Don't drop your water bottle like I almost did. Maybe take a seat once in a while, and everything else you'll need to relax a bit after suiting. Please be conscious of your health and stay safe. Dealer's Den and Artist Alley tips. While most merchants can accept most debit and credit cards, there might be the occasional bug or glitch that cuts off their processing system, so payments won't go through. In this case, they can usually only accept cash. Consider keeping a few bucks on you in the event this happens. And of course, first come, first serve. Don't cut in line just because you're impatient, or cut in line anywhere really. We'll come back to that. Please remember that at a convention, most of us are here to have fun. We do not want drama. Like I said, do not cut in line. You do not get priority over other con-goers unless you have an upgraded badge which entitles you to do so, and or you have a legitimate condition, in which case convention staff will be more than happy to assist you. It's as simple as that. For the elevators, it's a fairly common courtesy for suitors and their handlers to go first. You probably don't know how long they've been suiting for. Fursuiting for too long can have severe consequences with regards to one's health, so please try to understand this. Unless you have a real emergency to tend to, allow suitors and their handlers to take priority. Don't push or shove them out of the way just because you feel more important, because you're not, I'm sorry. This actually happened to Treble and I while we were in suit. He uttered something like, "F you, get out of the way." Not only that, but this also happened while we were out of suit, but it was a different person. It's like, dude, do you need a hug? We're all here to have fun. Keep your anger at home. Waiting in line for badges, events, and elevators are simply part of a large furry convention experience. It can get frustrating and tiresome, but that's the unfortunate byproduct of a large event. That's also why you keep your phone charged and a bottle of water on the side. Anyway, hopefully some of these tips helped y'all out a little bit. My last convention experience really opened my eyes to a lot of potential issues that many con goers, young and old, simply may not be aware of. I also really appreciate all of you understanding my brief hiatus with regards to some personal events that happened last week, so yeah, I love you guys so much. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, consider giving it a like, maybe leave a comment, and let me know of potential issues you dealt with at a convention in the past. Share it with your friends, and of course subscribe and ring the little bell thing, because that's what Google wants you to do these days, or something.
I am sweating and trying not to die.
Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!